noise at all. Are you guys having fun today? That's good. You guys got to make some noise for this show. Our birds love it. I'd like to say thank you to you guys for coming to our 12 o'clock Radical Raptors Bird of Prey presentation. My name's Jeremy, and for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to take you guys into the wonderful world of raptors. Now, before we get started, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about what a raptor is. A raptor is a flesh-eating bird. They've got a long hooked beak and 8 really sharp claws called talons. That's why we use these big leather gloves. Raptor is from a Latin word and it means to seize, as these guys pretty much all catch their food with their feet. Now during this presentation, some of these guys might come a little bit close to you. Please don't be tempted to reach out and touch any of the birds. We have had people try and do this in the past, and it's a pretty rotten idea. Should one of our birds happen to land on your head, just remain perfectly calm and still, and our bird will be fine. So with that said, who can tell me what kind of bird this is? Yep, let him out. Open the door all the way for him. All the way open. You can't stand in front of him, move over to the other side. Good boy. All right, Hagrid, you got out of there. So what kind of bird is this? That's right, this is an owl, but this is no ordinary owl. This here is Hagrid. Hagrid is a great horned owl. Not only that, but poor old Hagrid here, well, Hagrid is an orphan. Aww. Try that again. I said Hagrid is an orphan. Aww. You guys are good. That's right, Hagrid is an orphan. Hagrid's parents here, they abandoned the nest. There was 4 eggs in that nest, which we placed in an incubator. After 30 days or so, Hagrid here is the only guy that hatched, so he was hand-raised by the time he was about 10 days old. Because Hagrid here was hand-raised, he doesn't entirely understand that he's an owl. He kind of thinks he's a person that can fly. Because he thinks he's a person that can fly, sometimes he does get a little close to you. Just don't play chicken with Hagrid, because that's what we're feeding these guys, is chicken. So what's the first thing you guys notice about Hagrid when he sits there and looks at you? Great big yellow things right in front of his face. Shout it out. What do you see first? His eyes. Hagrid has these huge headlight-like eyes. Can anybody tell me why these guys have such big eyes? So they can see at night. That's right. Every eye needs a certain amount of light in order to see. We get our light from the sun, but Hagrid here, he'd get his light from the moon and the stars. Hagrid's eyes are huge in his head. In fact, if our eyes were the same size as Hagrid's, relatively speaking, they'd be about the size of grapefruits. Hagrid's eyes take up approximately 1/3 of Hagrid's skull. Many scientists believe these guys can see up to 100 times better than we can at night. Interestingly enough, he sees in black and white and shades of gray. Now, Hagrid has this incredible eyesight, but it does come with a bit of a problem. If you guys watch Hagrid fly to my glove, when he lands on the glove, sometimes he actually looks like he has to search for his food. That's because he does. Birds can't move their eyes. So when Hagrid gets right up close like that, he can't actually look down underneath his beak. Now, if you guys want to see what Hagrid sees up close, it's pretty easy. Just keep your eyes fixed on Hagrid, keep staring at him. Hold one of your hands out in front of your face like this so that your fingers are at about chin level, and move your fingertips in towards your chin. Keep looking at Hagrid. When your fingers are about 6 inches away from your chin, you can't see them anymore because your eyes are focused on Hagrid. That's the problem that Hagrid has. He can't see that food underneath his beak. All birds have this problem with the exception of a couple species of heron which can move their eyes only about 5 to 7 degrees. Now, Hagrid's eyesight, though it is incredible, but even more amazing than Hagrid's eyesight, possibly, is his hearing. Hagrid has incredible hearing, and I wonder if you guys can see Hagrid's ears. Put your hands up if you think you can see Hagrid's ears. All right, put your hands up if you can't see Hagrid's ears. That leaves an awful lot of you that either aren't looking or can't see at all. Those tufts of feathers on Hagrid's head have nothing to do with Hagrid's ears. In fact, that's part of Hagrid's threat display. When he gets really upset, he'll puff up to roughly 3 times the size that he is right now and glare at you with those big eyes. Hagrid does, of course, have ears, though. He has one that sits high on one side of his head and one that sits low on the other side of his head. When Hagrid hears things, he'll hear them at a slight delay. He'll then turn towards the sound and tilt his head. When that delay goes away, he knows roughly how far away his prey is. He can then triangulate with that incredible eyesight and find his prey on the forest floor in the dark. Hagrid's ears also take up about the same amount of room as his eyes, roughly 1/3 of Hagrid's head. So if his eyes are taking up 1/3 and his ears are taking up 1/3, half the remaining third of Hagrid's head is skull and beak. It doesn't leave a lot of room for any brains. Owls aren't particularly wise. Now, I grew up watching Winnie the Pooh, and they always told us that the wise old owl was the go-to guy. All I can think is that that wise old owl was very much like Hagrid, who's actually very smart. We really love working with Hagrid because he's a great bird. So Hagrid's got incredible eyesight and hearing, but he's got a couple of other adaptations that make him a very efficient nighttime hunter. Can anybody here try and guess and tell me how heavy they think that bird is? Shout it out. How heavy do you think he is? You guys aren't allowed to answer. You're in the camp. You already know that, so be quiet. That's right. Hagrid only weighs 2 pounds. That's because these guys have hollow bones that keeps them light and lets them fly. Hagrid also has specially designed feathers that allows the air to pass through those feathers, creating almost silent flight. There'd be no point being able to see and hear that well, especially in the dark if you're thundering around like an elephant in the forest, I suppose. So Hagrid here, he is a great horned owl. These guys are the second largest owl in British Columbia. The first largest is the great gray owl. These guys do exceptionally well in the wild, unlike the spotted owl. The spotted owl lives in our old growth forests, and unfortunately we continue to cut those down. As a result, there's now less than 10 spotted owl spots to be left in the wild. It's about time we learn to leave those old growth forests alone. Now when those forests get cut down, it forces the spotted owl into this guy's territory where they could become lunch for Hagrid. Hagrid here, he doesn't really want to eat another owl though. He's much more interested in something like a mouse or a rat, a mole, a vole, a lizard, a snake, maybe even a skunk. These guys have no sense of smell, so for Hagrid, a skunk is just a really good meal. So this is Hagrid. We're going to get Hagrid put back in his box right now so that we can fly a couple of other birds for you. Even though these guys are trained and bred in captivity, we do have to remember that they are predators. And if we don't have them safely locked away, they will try to kill each other. Hagrid, that's your cue. Go back in your box. Hagrid, back in the box. Open his door up all the way. Okay, Hagrid, back in your box. Hagrid, you're trained, remember? Hagrid, back in your box.
Come on, Hagrid, you can do it.
Hagrid is 9 years old. Maybe he won't make 10. No, actually, we rather hope that Hagrid will live to be about 35 years old. These guys do exceptionally well in captivity because we have a wonderful thing called a vet. Hagrid, back in your box. Let's go. That's not your box, Hagrid. Back in your box. Anybody want to buy a great horned owl?
Yep.
Come on, Hagrid. Back in your box. So this is Hagrid. He's going to go back in his box now. How about a big round of applause for Hagrid? Once Hagrid is safely locked away, we're going to take a trip way down south to Texas, Arizona, Mexico, and Chile. Please put your hands together and welcome my friend Harley.